Time now for Ask the Expert here on CTV Morning Live. And in today, Auger Hollingsworth. There's all the information on your screen to get a hold of Brenda Hollingsworth. If you have any questions, 613-789-6559, extension 2803. Grab a pen, write that down. Ottawa.morning@ctv.ca, or get on your device and get ready to send us off an email if you have questions. We're talking today with Brenda, who is a personal injury lawyer, about accidents and what to do if you've been in one. Brenda, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, a lot of people may have noticed there's a lot more cars on the roads these days. The highways are busy, the main roads, the suburbs, it's busy everywhere. There's a lot more kids on bikes as they head back to school. So there's a lot at stake, and there's a lot to talk about when it comes to how to deal with being in an accident. You never want to be in one, but when you're in one, you can handle it better, I would assume, if you have the knowledge of what to do. Let's start with bicycles, Brenda. If we were to talk about a car versus a bike, and we've seen some very tragic incidents in our city, that doesn't have to be the case. But let's talk about what happens if it's a car versus a bike. What's the first thing you do?
The first thing you would do in a situation like that is look after the medical piece. So if you need medical assistance, you want to make sure that you contact either 911 or a family member who can bring you to get the medical care that you need. And so that would be always number one: safety and medical care.
What about even if helping the other person? For example, if you're in the car and you've hit a cyclist and the cyclist is hurt, is it okay to go to that person and help them?
Oh, yes, you definitely should. Helping the person is never going to be an admission of liability. It's going to be an admission that you're a decent human being. So you should always assist somebody who's injured. Whether you think you were at fault, they were at fault, that's irrelevant.
Okay.
You get out there and you provide the assistance.
What happens next?
So if you are not in a medical emergency, you or someone else at your direction should ideally get some photos. That is really, really helpful. Where you landed, where the vehicle ended up, anything else that might be telling if there are marks on the car. In a cycling vehicle accident, often the car doesn't need major repairs. And if it's not a fancy, shiny car, sometimes the owners don't bother to get it repaired. So you're not going to have a report from a garage. So if there is a scratch or a dent or a mark on the vehicle, it's really helpful for us to be able to identify where you struck the car and how the accident happened, if you're able to get those photos, or somebody else is able to get those photos for you. So that's really important. If there are any witnesses, getting their information is key. Making sure that they either give you their name and phone number, or maybe they put it in your phone for you. That's really helpful again. Often car drivers are in shock that they have hit a cyclist, and their knee-jerk reaction is that it wasn't their fault. So if you have a witness that can speak up for you, that's really important.
A lot of people might think they need police on the scene. Does that make a difference for your case? Should you call 911 if if everyone's okay?
Well, it depends on what you mean by okay, right? If you are injured, you should call the police. People get hung up on the rule about $2,000 in damage. Unless you've got a really snazzy bike, you're probably not going to have $2,000 in damage. But if you are injured, you should phone the police and then take your guidance from them. And they will, they should attend if it's an injured cyclist. They don't always, but you should at least make the call.
Let's talk about car-on-car accidents. And everybody gets out of the car and says, no, it was you. No, it was you. I hit my brakes. You didn't see my lights. It can sometimes get a little bit intense. What happens in a situation like that?
So I would not, at the scene of a car-on-car accident, I wouldn't spend a lot of time debating with the other driver who was at fault. That's just not how it works. Focus on getting pictures, focus on gathering witness information. Doesn't matter what you and the other driver actually come to agree to. There are for property damage on vehicles, there's actually rules about, it's called the collision rules. You can Google them and you can actually see who's going to be at fault in different situations. But in the example that you give, where, my brake lights were on and like the rear end vehicle's always at fault in Ontario, always.
Okay.
So, if you back into me, it's different. But if we're traveling forward, the rear end vehicle's going to always be at fault.
All right, we have a lot more to talk about, and so we'll take a quick break. So at
Great.
this time, this is when people can get your questions to us.